Okay, so we're on our fourth day and ito na yung pinaka-importante, I think, sa buong program na ito, yung ating practical tips for you, no? If you have questions along the way, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat box para masagot natin, no? So, yan. So we are on our fourth week already. And for day 4, we will have yung practical tips for prospective law students. So I would assume that you signed up for this and and you are planning to go to law school, no? Pero it doesn't matter, no? Whether you will pursue with that or not is really not something that parang hindi naman yan nadidiminish yung kagustuhan nyo to enter law school or to enter this program, no? Uh, I'm just giving you this for you to have an informed decision making sa pagkuha ng law. Whether you take it or not is up to you entirely, no? Pero I hope you do. So here I will be discussing first yung a bird's eye view of the Philippine Law Curriculum. Ano ba yung kabuuan ng law curriculum sa Pilipinas? Ano ba yung mga subjects na kailangan nating i-take? And then next I will be discussing yung jurisprudence and how to read them, kung paano magbabasa ng mga cases, no? How to do them expeditiously ng medyo mas mabilis kasi mahahaba eh. So kailangan mo siyang you should make a way para mas bumilis yung pagbabasa mo. Case digest hacks, ano ba yung mga pwede nating gawin para ma-digest natin ng maigi yung mga cases. Some professors require you to write down yung case digest nyo, but some okay na yung digital. I don't know kung ano na yung current practice ngayon, pero still we will be tackling all of those later. Tips to survive law school, that is something that I will share based on my experience. Answering law school exams and law career paths. So all of these we will be tackling in a while, pero we will have a break when we get to case digest hacks because we will be giving the time sa ating mga nag-prepare to discuss their respective cases. So when we get there, we'll pause for a 2-minute break lang and then we will go to the case digests nung mga magpe-present ng kanilang cases. If I'll check the list kung ano yung mga hindi nakuhang cases and I will be the one discussing them, no? Unfortunately kasi parang nawala yung momentum kasi natin dahil nagkaroon nga ng bagyo last week, pero yun, it still goes on, no? So we start with yung sa Philippine Law Curriculum. So ito yung structure ng bagong law curriculum based sa Legal Education Board, no? This is a significant restructuring of the previous na pagtuturo ng law sa Pilipinas, no? And this is more thematic, more on themes themes based. Kumbaga pinagsama-sama nila yung mga subjects na pare-pareho ang theme. And I think that is a good improvement on the previous curriculum, no? Kasi I noticed in the past that when you, 'di ba, kunwari nag-aral ka ng criminal law 1 and 2 ng first year mo, but you only learn about procedure once you get to third year, fourth year, 'di ba? So it's too late. Medyo late na siya. So parang pinush forward nila yung mga procedure related na mga subjects, and I think that's a good thing. So yeah, at least by the time sa umpisa pa lang alam na nung tao na kung ano yung procedure while learning yung substantive law. So sa natin, I don't know if I was able to discuss it in the previous meetings, pero meron kasi tayong dalawang major classification of laws. Meron tayong tinatawag na substantive law. Yung substantive law, yun yung mga Republic Acts, mga executive orders, presidential decrees, yung mga batas mismo ang pinag-aaralan doon. Pero sa procedural law naman, yung procedures na prescribe ng Supreme Court at iba't iba pang government bodies na may kinalaman doon sa pag-assert ng mga karapatan under the substantive law. So kung sa substantive law more on the content ng batas, yung sa procedural law more on the kung paano mo i-enforce yung karapatan under the law, no? More on the procedures, step by step, yung how a case goes to court and how it ends. At kung ano yung mga remedies mo once na natapos ang hearing, mga ganyan. So, and a promulgation of the decision is made. Ano, saan ka pupunta? Mga ganun. More on the practical side, yung procedural law, no? So here in under first year, required ng philosophy nandiyan yung subject na philosophy of law. Of course, you need to understand kung ano ba yung batas. 'Di ba nabanggit ko naman na sa inyo 'yon, pero they will deal with it on a deeper level, no? Yung sa philosophy ng law, and then statutory construction. How do you interpret yung mga batas? How do you interpret yung mga provisions ng mga substantive law? Or even the procedure, no? Paano mo i-interpret? Ano ba yung mga rules, kunwari, kung sinasabing and, kung ano yung or, no? Kapag may enumeration sa batas, and others, di ba? Usually kapag nag-ano tayo, kapag nag-enumerate tayo, pag ang daming i-enumerate, hindi na na-enumerate lahat. Kapag sinabi ng batas na etc., anong ibig sabihin nun, no? Hanggang saan yung limitation nun, no? So if the law says this applies, kung nag-enumerate siya ng cats, dogs, birds, etc. So pwede mo bang ilagay doon na apple, 'di ba? Yung mga ganun, more on may mga rules tayo diyan sa statutory construction. Meron tayong tinatawag, for example, na ejus dim generis, na sinasabi doon na kapag in-enumerate ng batas at merong etc. siyang nakalagay or merong hindi in-enumerate lahat, kailangan yung mga similar na mga bagay lang ang i-include mo doon in the interpretation. Mga ganyan. How you interpret laws, nandiyan yun. Kung yung shall at may, ano ba yung mga ano ba ibig sabihin ng mga yon? Sa statutory construction pinag-aaralan yan. Sa legal and judicial ethics naman, diyan pinag-aaralan kung ano ang rules, ano ang code of ethics ng mga abogado. Okay? There's a reason why it is there sa pinakauna, no? Because they want you to understand that the law must be based on ethics, no? Kung nagka-cut yung connection ko, please let me know. Kasi nagpa-prompt yung aking Zoom na unstable yung connection. Okay? So constitutional law 1 naman, yan pinag-aaralan diyan yung mga yung branches of government. Na-discuss na natin 'yan in passing, of course. Syempre pag law, iba ring usapan 'yun, mas detalyado when you get to law school already. Pero at least you have a working understanding now, no? Criminal law, pinag-aaralan diyan yung mga circumstances affecting liability, mga ganon, yung mga justifying, exempting, mitigating, mga ganon, yung mga basic principles ng batas yan. So, there. Na-discuss na din natin yan in passing. Okay? So, criminal procedure naman, sa criminal procedure, how does a criminal case go from the police, for example, kung galing sa police yan, or how does the procedure go kapag nanggaling yan parang nag-direct kang filing. Ikaw mismo ang nag-file through a lawyer as opposed kapag nanggaling siya sa police, mga ganyan. Tapos kung ano yung mga stages, kung kailan ka nahuhulihin, if you have a warrant, mga ganyan. What happens if you are caught in flagrante, or kapag nahuli ka while committing the act. So, yun. Lahat yan i-discuss dyan sa criminal procedure. When we get to your second sem, nandiyan ang legal research and writing. Sa legal research and writing, tuturuan kayo ng research methods, pag-researchin kayo, tuturuan kayo kung paano maghanap ng mga related topics sa inyong topic. If you are taking a JD program na thesis program, importante ito kasi kailangan yung gumawa ng thesis at the end of your program, no? So legal research is a very important thing. But regardless, hello? Okay. Naririnig pa naman ako, di ba? Please, thumbs up tayo.
Yes, sir. I think it's okay na po.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
It's stable now.
Okay. Thank you. So, ayan. When we talk of yung sa legal research and writing, hindi lang naman yan about sa thesis, no? Pero it's about how you prepare for a case. Paano ka mag-research ng mga jurisprudence on cases, mga ganyan, that will support your arguments later in court. Okay? So, next is Constitutional 2, Constitutional Law 2. Diyan naman sa Constitutional Law 2, Bill of Rights lang purely ang pag-aaralan niya, no? So, I think I have enough introduction sa inyo kung ano yung mga basic rights ng mga tao, mga ganyan. So, nandiyan yan sa Constitutional Law 2. Criminal Law 2, nakalista dyan lahat kung ano yung mga crimes under the RPC, ano yung mga crimes under special laws, ganon, and you'll have to memorize the elements of of these laws, no? Medyo marami yan. Actually hindi medyo marami yan na kailangan mo i-memorize yung mga elements, for example, ng murder, anong elements ng theft, anong elements ng mga ganun. Yung mga mga iba't ibang crimes, that's under criminal law 2. Sa criminal law 1 principles lang. Sa criminal law 2 more on the actual crimes, kung anong crime ba yung tinutukoy doon sa case, for example. Obligations and contracts, here you will understand the basic, yung pinaka-core ng contracts law at kung ano ba yung tinatawag natin obligations, mga ganyan. If you are an accounting major, maning-mani mo na yan, no? Hopefully. Pero that's 5 units, take note. Medyo malaki kasi yung na yan subject. So, ano ba yung mga rules on contracts, when is a contract rescissible, voidable, mga ganun. Void, unenforceable, ganyan. Sa Civil Procedure 1 naman, I think Civil Procedure 1 is on civil actions. So mapapansin nyo, nandyan yung obligations and contracts, tapos nandyan yung ordinary civil actions, Civil Procedure 1. No? Ano ba yung mga nangyayari when you file a civil case as opposed sa criminal case? Di ba sa criminal case, if there is a violation ng criminal laws natin, sa civil cases naman, more on the private relations ng mga tao among themselves, no? So, yan. So that is year 1. For year 1, I think medyo mabigat siya for year 1. Pero I think this is also a logical arrangement, no? If you'll notice in the previous programs ng law, na laging nasa una ang family code, na yung marriage and persons and family relations. Lagi nasa una 'yon. Pero the problem kasi is napansin na rin siguro ng Supreme Court na yung mga tao kapag tapos nila yung persons and family relations, they tend to drop out of law school. Medyo parang yun kasi yung to me, yun kasi yung pinaka-interesting na subject sa law. And actually, you will have a difficulty understanding the nature of marriage as a special Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir. Hindi po clear from the
Nag-Shopee ka po kanina po.
persons and family relations. Yung start po ng persons and family relations.
Yes, thank you. Sorry talaga sa internet connection. I have no control over that. Pero yan. Okay na ba ngayon?
Yes po.
Yes, attorney.
Okay, thank you. So, sa persons and family relations naman, kasi the problem with parang putting it in the first, lalo na actually first year yon before. The problem with that is you will have a difficulty understanding the concept of marriage as a special contract if you do not know the basics of a contract, no? And ironically, nasa second term pa yon, obligations and contracts. So I think that's also a good move to to parang move it somewhere else, yung persons and family relations, kasi talaga naman kailangan mo muna ituro yung obligations and contracts bago ka mag family relations, no? Persons and family relations. So there. That's first year pa lang yon. So sa second year, I don't know why this is parang a jump pack na year, pero let's try to check kung bakit. Okay. Sa second year, ayan, public international law. So sa public international law, diyan pinag-uusapan yung mga international agreements, mga laws of the sea, mga ganyan. Yung mga diyan yung matatakal yung arbitral ruling ng on the West Philippine Sea, ganyan. Mga border disputes, mga ganon, how to treat wars, ano yung mga treaties ng ano yung mga conventions related sa human rights, like yung karapatan ng mga kababaihan, yung karapatan, yung mga rules on war, mga ganyan, kailan ka lang pwedeng mag-raise ng war, ganyan. So international cooperation, lahat yun pinag-uusapan sa public international law. Sa persons and family law naman, pinag-uusapan diyan ang yung from the time that you are parang you are born to the time, yes, 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 JC. May naka-raise ng hand. Anyway, I hope I'm still audible. Please thumbs up na lang siguro. Okay. So I'll continue so ayan. Sa persons and family law, how do you establish parang sino ang tinikonsider natin na persons, mga ganyan, i-discuss natin yun doon. And also, what is marriage, what is ano yung mga obligations ng isa't isa in the family, mga ganyan, entitlement for support, mga ganon, kailan valid ang marriage, kailan siya void, ano yung mga requirements para maging valid ang kasal, ano yung possibility ng same-sex marriage, is that possible under current law? And of course, the answer there is no, hindi pa, no? Pero what will it take for it to happen? Mga ganyan. Ano yung mga rules on ano yung mga rules kapag nag-divorce yung asawa mo sa abroad? Kung dinivorce ka pala rather, no? At nagpakasal na siya doon, what happens to you? Mga ganyan. Pero that is also parang included sa discussion on private international law later kasi merong conflict of laws na lalabas diyan. So, yan, mga ganon. Everything about family, everything about marriage, everything about properties ng mag-asawa, lahat yan madidiscuss sa persons and family relations. Kaya nga, sabi, yan yung pinaka madrama at pinaka masaya na klase sa law school journey niyo. So, kaya siguro nilagay sa year 2. But of course, that's a joke, no? Pero, sana ganun yung rationale niyan na. So, sa civil procedure 2, ano ba itong civil procedure 2? I forgot about this already. Baka ito yung mga special civil actions, no? Or hindi, yung pala to hanggang dun sa may portion pa nung kasi hindi matatapos lahat sa 1. So tatapusin sa 2 and then special civil actions, mga ganyan, special proceedings, mga ganong klaseng ganong klaseng cases. Yung mga hindi masyadong popular na mga cases like adoption, mga ganyan, although sa adoption ngayon hindi na administrative na no. Yung mga extrajudicial settlement of estate, mga ganyan. Change of name, mga ganun, special procedure, special civil actions, agency trust and partnership law. These are yung mga yan yung mga special types of arrangements, special types of contracts So, ano yan, parang mga ano lang yan, parang under civil law din yan, pero more on the, ano, parang ito, yung mga miscellaneous na, ano na yon miscellaneous um, na provisions of the law, no, sa civil law. Ayan, so, under ano naman, okay, sorry, may ano, may na-unmute lang. Okay. So, may Corporation and Basic Securities Law. Dito naman, di-discuss yung corporations. Corporation as a separate entity from its stakeholders. Na-discuss na rin naman natin ng bagya yung nature ng corporation, no? Securities, ito naman yung sa ito naman yung sa mga stocks, mga ganyan. At yung yung mga rules. This is an interesting field right now kasi because of yung ano ba yan, mga Bitcoin, mga ganyan, parang here is where that parang leans towards, no? Sa labor law and social legislation, mga ano naman yan sa batas, no? Sa batas on labor. Ano ba yung, actually, isa lang ba to? Yung labor law, isa na lang ba siya? Parang, oo nga. Kasi dati may labor, I think merong labor law 1, labor law 2, which is, sa labor law 1 before, ano lang siya, labor standards. Sa labor law 2, labor relations. Pero ngayon, isa na lang for some reason. Pero 4 units na siya. No? And then, merong clinical legal education. Sa clinical legal education, yan na yung you will be asked to observe, yung meron nang magkakaroon ng legal clinic na tinatawag, you will be allowed to parang observe cases, parang mag-ano na kayo, parang sort of like an immersion into the law profession, no? And it's good that it's early na merong clinical legal education. So yun, that's the first term. Sa second term, admin law, administrative law yung sa side ng sa executive department, and law on public officers. Kung nandiyan yung mga batas na pinapatupad ng COMELEC, mga ganyan, and other executive agencies. Property and land law. I think dito sa property and land law, pinagsama na ang property at land titles and deeds. If I remember that right, no? Yun. So, here, sa property, pag-aaralan mo kung ano yung mga ownership, co-ownership, possession ng mga lupa, no? Usually lupa and all types of property basically. Movable and unimmovable properties, diyan mo na pag-aaralan. Pero I think this will be more on lands. More on lupa kasi ang daming rules sa sa real property eh. Sa personal property ko konti lang 'yon. Pero sa mga lupa, ang dami talaga, no? Yung land titles and deeds pa nga lang on yung sa deed of sale, sa titulo ng lupa, mga ganun, isang buong subject yun before. Pero now it's just property and land law. And then basic succession law, yung sa succession law naman yan yung what happens to a person's properties when he dies. Kanino ipapasa? Mga ganyan. So, diyan yung sa succession. Sa evidence, ito yung maganda sa evidence. Although mas binawasan yung yung units. Sa evidence, you will have to weigh, you will have to discuss yung hierarchies of evidence, kung ano ba ang mas matimbang, yung document ba, yung bagay ba, o yung testimony. Pwede bang ang kaso ay mag-proceed kahit kahit ang evidence mo lang ay testimony ng victim, pwede ba 'yon? Yung mga ganun bagay, at kailan sufficient ang evidence, kailan hindi. Okay? Now, if you have questions, you can always itanong sa chat natin, ha? Nandiyan naman yung chat natin. Okay. Commercial laws, itong commercial laws 1, kasi sa commercial law ang haba niyan eh. Maraming mga batas na nai-incorporate diyan sa commercial laws, kaya hinati-hati yan. Marami. Actually, if you will see the caudal ng commercial laws sa Pilipinas, it's three volumes yung caudal niyan, no? So parang it deserves naman parang as more emphasis, no? Sa basic taxation law, ito yung basic taxation law, this is the harder topic, no? Tax principles, I don't know if kasamang procedure dyan, pero I don't think so, no? Pero yung principles of taxation, mga ganon, rules on taxation, kailan ka taxable, ano ang mga klase ng taxes, nandiyan dyan sa basic taxation law. So this is year 2. Personally, I think this is heavy, no? Pero well, they make sense, at least to me. It makes sense pero medyo mabigat. When you get to year 3, ito na yung mga marami ng interesting na laws dito, no? Local government code, yung laws on local government. DNR law, environmental and natural resources law. Na ano yan? Environmental law. Torts and damages, what happened kasi sa mga sa mga when are you supposed to claim damages, tas sa mga sa vehicular accidents, ganon, what are your rights, ganyan, nandiyan sa torts and damages yan. Private international law, ito naman, if there are conflicts with our Philippine law and our counterparts in the international community regarding contracts, ganyan, or agreements, dito yan sa private international law. Yung sa mga kasal, for example, if meron lang foreign element ang kasal, like foreigner yung isa, or kumuha ng divorce yung foreigner doon sa bansa niya, what happens to you na dito, na asawa dito, kapag nag-abang ka ng AFAM sa sa airport, you should read this. you should read more on private international law kasi there may be parang this will contain discussions on yung how to treat or how to understand yung mga relations of people outside of the borders of the country, no? Special rules and proceedings, ito naman yung sa sa mga special. Okay, so hindi siya kasama dun sa kanina, civil law 2. So, civil procedure 2. So, mga special, kung may mga iba't ibang klaseng proceedings pa kasi outside of yung criminal and civil proceedings, meron pang mga iba't iba pang klase ng proceedings. Diyan yan sa 3. Diyan yan sa sa special rules and proceedings. Sa commercial laws naman 2, again, yan? Yung sa commercial relations, insurance code, transportation code, maritime law, yung mga laws on sole proprietorships, FRIA, Data Privacy Act, lahat yan nandiyan sa commercial laws, no? And legal forms. Yung sa legal forms, usually ang ginagawa dyan, pinapagawa lang kayo ng form, yung mga deed of sale, mga affidavit, mga ganyan, anong kaibahan ng acknowledgement at jurat, mga ganon, pleadings, how do you make your pleadings, paano ang ilalagay mo, kung acknowledgement ba o jurat in a contract, yung mga ganon. So basically, kung ano yung mga nakikita nyong pinoproduce ng lawyer, you will learn that in legal forms. And that is on 3rd year na, no? Medyo late na. And then for second term, we have election laws. Of course, you know that. But it's 1 unit. Kasi maiksi lang naman. Konti lang yan. Medical jurisprudence, yan naman sa, sa, kunwari, medical legal, mga ganyan. How do you interpret medical legal? Matututunan nyo rin kung kailan ba considered patay ang tao, mga ganon. Kung ano yung state ng isang tao in the stages of decomposition, mga ganon. Preparatory ito siguro if you want to venture into investigative work later. Maganda yan. Magandang at saka how do you prove that a person has intent to kill, or parang yung sa rape, 'di ba? May medical legal findings yung rape, mga ganon. Kung na-rape ba yung isang bata or hindi. Ganyan, medical jurisprudence. And on year 3 as well, diyan ka makakita ng gender sensitivity and laws on women and children's rights. This is a new addition, no? Bago ito. So, ni-require na nila na may gender sensitivity laws, gender laws, women's and children's rights topic, no? So and this is a very good suggestion. This is a welcome development in our Philippine law curriculum, no? And then we have electives. Ang daming electives. There are a lot of choices ng electives at depende yan sa expertise ng mga magtuturo. So by year 3, wala na masyadong substantial law, no? More on electives na lang siya. So sa year 4 is purely review. Ano? So integration courses lahat yan. Sa political law, political international, civil, criminal, labor, legal ethics, remedial, commercial, taxation. Basically, this is your bar prep, no? Wala nang iba, bar prep lang yan. Buo. Okay? So, ayun. That is the hardest. The review courses are hardest kasi ang hirap na lahat ng pinag-aralan mo for 3 years, i-culminate mo dyan sa iisang ano na yan, sa iisang subject na ito. Sa iisang year, no? So, that is something to watch out for. Okay. Now, jurisprudence. Sa jurisprudence naman, when we say jurisprudence, ito yung mga cases na inassign ko sa inyo, yung mga decisions of the Supreme Court. Okay? So, a good decision, according to Mike Velarde and Social Justice Society case, must contain the following. Okay? Statement of the case, statement of the facts, issues or assignments of error, court ruling, ganyan. And the dispositive portion. I-discuss ko sa inyo itong lahat mamaya. Okay? So, ayan. Ito yung decision. When we say jurisprudence, we're talking of cases. Okay? So, yan, may optional parts, yung prologue at epilogue. So, ito yung prologue, ito yung prologue. Mali pala yung nakalagay ko dyan. This is the prologue. Ito yung parang if they want to parang sound a little bit cheesy, maglalagay sila ng quotes dyan or maglalagay sila dyan ng a message that is parang of general application na that is supposed to give the wisdom of the law, mga ganyan. Yung parang kumaga sa ano mo yan sa essay mo, yung paandar mo para makuha mo yung sentiment nung reader, ganyan. Pwede yan sa prologue. No? Yan. So, this is the prologue part. Hindi lahat ng jurisprudence meron, kaya optional siya kanina. And then, we have the statement of the case. Ano ba yung case really? Minsan, sa mga, yung ibang, ibang justices, di sila naglalagay ng headings. Before us is a petition for review. Although alam mo na agad, petition for review siya. Ano yung ina-assail niya na decision? Yung sa RTC, parang the decision ng RTC, yung ina-assail niya, no? Ganun. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na statement of the case. It's just a brief statement kung ano ba yung kaso before the Supreme Court, no? So, yan. Statement of the facts, ito yung sinasummarize natin sa digest. Marami yan, mahaba yan actually, pero I just cut it. Just to emphasize na mahaba siya, pero talagang mahaba yan, marami yan. The statement of the facts is, before kasi mag-decide, kunwari, if there's a case, the Supreme Court will make sure that the people understand kung ano yung nangyayari in that case. Nakwento niya lahat yung dapat niyang ikwento dyan sa case na yan. So, that is the statement of the facts, no? Para yung tao din na nagbabasa, alam niya rin kung ano yung nangyayari, what's happening in the case, no? And so ano ba yung mga nangyari before it reached the Supreme Court? Okay. Here, meron namang assignment of errors na tinatawag natin or yung issues. Kasi in your petition later, when you petition the Supreme Court, ang nilalagay diyan, the RTC gravely erred or the CA gravely erred in accepting yung argument ni petitioner that blah 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 ganon. So parang sinasabi mo na ay mali si CA dahil ganito. So you will raise those issues ngayon. And the Supreme Court will condense that into the issues part of the jurisprudence. Ano ba yung mga main issues doon? Ano ba yung mga issues doon na kailangan pagtuunan ng pansin? Ito yun. In this case of Brother Mike Velarde, ang dami, 6, no? Pero usually, mga 2, 1, ganun lang yung issues, no? If it is a very important case, marami siyang issues. Pero yung binigay ko sa inyo kanina is, do you call that? Yung binigay ko is may isang single issue lang muna ang i-discuss natin sa mga cases, no? So, and then the court ruling. The court ruling says first, una, siya sabi doon, the petition of Brother Mike Velarde is meritorious. Ibig sabihin, may merit doon sa sinasabi ni Brother Mike Velarde. So, and then they will discuss why. Ganyan. Isa-isayin nila yan, yung issues. Una, there are procedural issues like yung ano ba yung tama ba yung naging paraan ng pag-appeal sa Supreme Court, ganyan. So, dito din i-discuss yun. And yung substantial naman, later, di-discuss nila kung bakit ganon, bakit mali ka ng interpretation sa batas, ganyan, or kung tama, ganon. Kung sino sa mga parties ang nakapagbigay ng tamang interpretation. Okay? And the dispositive portion, usually ito lang yung kinokopya when you get a certification sa Supreme Court or sa court, of any court, na kung ano ba yung naging decision ng judge. Basically, ito yun. Ito lang yung decision. If you will summarize everything, ito na yun. Itong dispositive portion. Pero hindi, ang problema sa dispositive portion, hindi niya sabi kung bakit. No? Basta sinabi niya na granted yung petition. No? So, ayan. Parang, yun yung dispositive portion ng case. So, if we go back, ito yung mga iba't ibang parts ng decision, no? So let's start with yung sa statement of the case, statement of the facts, assignment of errors or yung issues, and then court ruling. And then the dispositive portion. Now, in your digest, nandoon yung tatlong parts diyan, no? Una, yung facts. Nandoon naman yon sa statement of facts, pero isa-summarize mo. Kasi if you will give all the facts, mahirapan ka talaga diyan, kokopyahin mo yung lahat, no? Sa issues naman, titignan mo yung mga issues. Kung nakalagay sa decision kung ano yung mga issues na, kung naka-specify na 1, 2, 3, 4 yung issues, yun na yun. Pero kung wala, may mga kasi paragraph form sila gumawa ng issues, no? I-spell out mo pa yon. And then, yung ruling. Ano yung naging decision? Bakit sa issue 1, ganito? Sa issue 2, bakit naging ganito yung decision? Sa issue 3, naging ganito. So, you will have to summarize them in what we call a case digest. Okay? Now, sa case digest, yan yung unang-unang sasampal sa'yo when you get to law school. No? The very first meeting that they will assign a case for you to read, meron ng case digest agad yan. You will do a case digest on it. No? So, what is a case digest? A case digest is a summary of the decision and why the decision was parang kung bakit naging ganun yung decision ng court. Okay. How do you do it? Una, okay, usually kasi ang ginagawa ng ibang tao, tinitingnan muna na yung facts, tinitingnan yung issues, tinitingnan yung ruling. But that is, I don't think that is effective, no? First and foremost, if you have the time, read it all. No? Basahin mo muna lahat. And then you identify first the issues and the subject for which the digest was assigned. Needless to say sa inyo that you need to read the full text. Huwag niyo kaming gayahin. I did not read the full text before, pero what I'm saying is, for you to effectively do it, read the entire case, no? And then, spot the issues in the case. Ano ba yung subject matter niya, no? Ano ba yung pinag-uusapan doon? And kung anong, more importantly, kung anong subject siya ni-require. Kung ni-require siya sa review subjects na, but that is later na, alam mo na mag-digest nun by then, no? Pero in the earlier times, for example, kapag ni-require siya sa obligations and contracts, you only pick the issue that is related to obligations and contracts, no? Pero may mga professor na just to test whether you read the full case or not, ang tatanong nila sa'yo, something that is not related, no? Kaya you'll have to read the entire thing. Pero if you don't have the time, you can just use these shortcuts, no? And nga pala, you'll need to learn how to read fast in law school. Kailangan mabilis kasi ang dami, no? Hindi lahat diyan importante at hindi lahat diyan hina-highlight. Kasi kung hina-highlight mo lahat, mamaya pala meron by the latter part of the discussion, hindi na pala obsolete na siya, mga ganun. So, highlight the important ones only, no? At if it works for you na iba-ibang kulay ng highlighter for each kind of important thing, no? Bahala ka. So, and then, spot and summarize the facts relevant to the issue. Again, note the dates kung relevant sila. kunwari prescription ang pinag-uusapan, note the dates definitely, no? Kung hindi naman masyado, ilagay mo lang siguro year para madali mong ma-visualize yung yung issue. So, there. Discuss briefly which courts or tribunals the case went through under decisions. Itignan mo kung for example galing siya sa RTC o makyat siya sa CA tapos pumunta sa Supreme Court, or napunta sa MTC, RTC, CA, Supreme Court, or from RTC dumiretso sa Supreme Court. Okay? Or pwede naman na dumiretso sila sa Supreme Court, but that is not allowed as a general rule, no? You have to go through the judicial hierarchy. Pero some nakakalusot 'yon, yung mga of transcendental importance na mga cases like yung sa ATL, yung sa anti-terror law, no? I think it went through the Supreme Court immediately. So 'yon, pwede 'yon, pero sparingly, no? Tingnan mo kung saang dumaan na courts, kung saang tribunals, kung galing bang BIR yan, kung galing ng LTO, kung galing ng kung saan, no? 'Yun. You'll have to check that. Name of parties only when they are relevant to the issue. Papakalanan mo lang yung tao kung relevant siya dun sa issue. Kung hindi naman masyado, kung may nachika lang siya dun, hindi na, wag niyo nang isama. Okay? And then you'll have to summarize the Supreme Court's ruling. So issue muna, and then the facts, and then the ruling. The first sentence of the ruling must summarize the important parts of the dispositive portion. May dapat statement ka doon. The court decided in favor of ganito, or the court dismissed the petition and set it as dismissed the petition, mga ganyan. Para sa simula pa lang, alam mo na nang nagbabasa kung ano yung naging decision ng court, nung digest mo na. And that is also an important training when you get to answering the bar. In answering the bar, direct to the point ang unang statement. No? Direct to the point siya, and that is a training that can be gained from digesting cases. Okay? Dapat yung ruling part yung pinakaunang sentence doon must say something about the end result of it all, no? And then address the issues one by one as resolved by the SC. So if you're talking of family relations, for example, and meron silang dalawang issues na related sa family, i-discuss mo na sila separately. The court decided on ganito because, and the court decided ganito, ganyan. Okay? Be sure to include important concepts. Kapag may bagong concept dyan na na-introduce, ilagay mo yan. No? And note if there are deviations from previous Supreme Court decisions. Okay? So, kasi may mga pagkakataon na sinasabi mismo doon sa decision na nagbago yung decision ng Supreme Court. Kasi, di ba, meron tayong tinatawag na concept na stare decisis. So, stare decisis, sinasabi doon that sinasabi doon
dating decision ng
Hello? Sir?
yes.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Wait lang. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So, yan, nawala ako. May naka-unmute. But that's fine. Okay? So, okay. Nasaan ba ako? Okay. Important yung deviations from previous Supreme Court decisions, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na stare decisis wherein the Supreme Court is bound to follow yung previous na mga decisions on something, no? And lawyers are bound to follow the rulings of the Supreme Court in prior, no? Except if there is a reason for them to believe na hindi na fit yung ganong interpretation in the current context, no? If the Supreme Court deviated, kumbaga nagbago yung isip ng Supreme Court about a certain case, dapat by that time dapat mare-reflect mo yun doon sa digest mo, no? Kasi mahalaga rin yung history nung case doon sa digest, no? So that is how you do a case digest. But we will listen to your classmates tuloy. Nasanay na ako sa pagtuturo. Anyway, we will listen to to the other participants later as they discuss the important cases, no? I'll give you 2 minutes. I'll fix my internet as well for us to continue better, no? So 2 minutes, and then yung mga presenters be ready. Okay, I think we can proceed. Sino mo gusto mauna? Remember ha, before we begin, siguro I'll just remind everyone na itong mga nag-volunteer natin na kasama are new in this venture, no, and there may be lapses along the way, no. Intindi natin, no. And I will actually if it's okay with the presenters, i-point out natin later kung areas of improvement, mga ganyan. Pero basically hindi naman gan kaano yan eh. Parang hindi naman siya gano, hindi naman siguro ganon kaano, because I already gave you pointers before. So, sino mo gusto mo una? Okay, Lance?
Yes
Go.
po. Okay
Ah,
po. Present ko lang po yung screen.
sige, ito enabled na. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, hello, good evening guys. And I will be presenting tonight the GR number 174689. So this case is Romela Cinto Dante Silverio, the petitioner versus Republic of the Philippines. So on November 26, 2002, the petitioner, which is Romel Jacinto Dante Silverio, filed a petition for the change of his first name and sex in his birth certificate in the Regional Trial Court of Manila, Branch 8. So the petition, docketed as SP case number 02-105207, impleaded the Civil Registrar of Manila as the respondent. Okay. So for this one, since mahaba yung case nung binasa ko, I will just make it fast.
Yes, sir.
So dito sa case na to, he identified this. Sorry, attorney.
Go ahead, sige lang. You can summarize naman, pwede naman nang basahin to, tapos
Okay
summary
po.
na lang yung sabihin mo. Okay lang.
Okay. He stated that he is anatomically male but feels, thinks, and acts as a female. Yun yung argument niya. So he or she identifies himself as a girl since childhood, and she felt that she was just trapped in a man's body. So nasa mga doktor dito sa law sa Pilipinas and also in the United States, nakapag-underwent siya ng psychological exam, hormone treatment, breast augmentation, and on January 27, 2001, nakapag-avail siya na mag-underwent sa sex reassignment surgery. So it happened on Bangkok, Thailand. So after this, in-examine siya ni Dr. Marcelino Recio Cruz Jr., a plastic and reconstruction surgeon in the Philippines, para mag-vouch na nag-underwent talaga siya sa procedure. So in this case, ipinresent niya as witnesses si Dr. Dr. Recio Cruz Jr., his American fiancé, which is Richard P. Edel, as witnesses. So the trial court rendered the decision in favor of the petitioner, which is the court argued that the sole reason of the petitioner is not to evade law or judgment, because if we will be asking the civil registry to change our names and gender on our birth certificate, there should be a ruling of the court. But in this case, there's no unlawful motive. Wala naman siyang pinagtataguan, wala siyang mga kaso. Kaya inalaw ng court yung pagbabago ng name at gender niya, which is from Romela Cinto to Meli, and her gender from male to female. So what's the issue? Currently, we don't have a specific law in regards with transsexuals updating their registered name and gender. According to RA 386, Article 407 and 412, no entry in a civil register shall be changed or corrected without a judicial order. But since pinanigan siya nung una ng trial court, na nabaliktad dito ng Supreme Court nung inangat yung kaso na ito. So, since there's no law interpreting the change of a gender for a transsexual, such request can't be granted. But upon my research, the change of name can be done as long as the petitioner don't have any judicial obligation. Yung name, pwede niyang mabago yon, pero for the gender, there's no way for it to be happen by this time. And even as of this year, as of this time, kasi wala pa rin tayong batas na nag-grant na makapagpalit tayo ng gender natin or ng sexual orientation natin. Yun lang po, attorney. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lance. So here in the case actually of who's this na nga? Silverio ba? Yes,
Yes
tama
po.
ba? In the case of Silverio, ang gusto niyang gawin is mag-change ng kanyang details sa kanyang birth certificate from yun nga, from Romel to Meli at saka from male to female. Ngayon, the issue there is parang denied yung kanyang denied yung kanyang petition at some point in the succession of the cases of the case, no. So later on, Meli filed a petition before the Supreme Court to have it to parang eventually inappeal niya yung decision to have it changed, pero according to the Supreme Court, hindi pwede, no? The reason is sa Pilipinas hindi natin nare-recognize hindi pa natin nare-recognize yung change of gender if the change of gender is if the change of parang sex doon sa sa birth certificate mo is if not for the basis only of yung sa clerical error, no? Actually, correction of entry yun eh. So they will have to correct the entry. Pero dito sa Pilipinas, the Supreme... Again, sorry for that. My provider will receive a word from me on this internet issue. Anyway, yan. The thing with the case, the Silverio case is hindi mo pwedeng palitan yung entry ng sa birth certificate mo on the basis of yung sex reassignment procedure. Kasi it's not yet it is a procedure that is not yet recognized in the Philippines, no? So you cannot change what is your birth assigned parang sex assigned at birth, no? So far sa natin sa jurisprudence natin, but who knows, 'di ba? In the future we will have that parang process sa legal system natin that you can change your birth records, no? So thank you, Lance, for that presentation. Sino susunod?
Me, attorney, since Silver case is done, so this is related. My case is related to the latter case, attorney.
Okay, sige. I think this is Kagandahan, correct?
Yes, attorney.
Okay, this is interesting. There's a difference between the two.
Attorney, I did not prepare PowerPoints. Can I just discuss it to
It's
the
okay,
class?
it's okay. Yeah, sure.
Attorney, pwede pong hindi ipa-disable yung chat dito po sa Zoom. Naka-disable po yung
Disable
chat.
siya?
Yes po.
Sorry. Okay. Palagay na lang. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Lester.
Thank you.
Okay, attorney. So I will be discussing the case of Republic of the Philippines versus Jennifer B. Kagandahan. So the facts are as follows. Jennifer Kagandahan filed a petition for correction of entries in her birth certificate, changing the name and gender before the original trial court. So she alleged that she was registered as a female in the certificate of library, but while growing up, she developed secondary male characteristics and was diagnosed to have congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which is a condition where persons afflicted possess both male and female characteristics. So he testified that this could he undergo a kanang examination by a doctor. So doctor testified that this condition is very rare, that respondent's uterus is not fully developed because of lack of female hormones, and that she has no monthly period. He further testified that respondent's condition is permanent and recommended the change of gender because respondent has made up her mind and adjusted to her chosen role as male, and the gender change would be advantageous to her. So the RTC granted respondent's petition, but the Office of the Solicitor General filed a petition that seeks reversal of RTC's decision. According to Office of the Solicitor General, Rule 108 does not allow change of sex or gender in the birth certificate, and respondents claimed medical condition known as congenital adrenal hyperplasia does not make her a male. So the issue is whether or not the decision of the RTC granting change to the sex of Jennifer Kagandahan from female to male is erroneous. So the ruling of the Supreme Court is the RTC is right of granting the petition because the determination of a person's sex appearing in his birth certificate is a legal issue and the court must look to the statutes. So under Article 412 of the Civil Code, those that are subject for a judicial order are listed in Article 408 and 407 of the Civil Codes. However, as amended by Republic Act number 9048, mere clerical or typographical error is only subject for administrative order. Since the change of sex is not a mere clerical or typographical error, it is a substantial change for which the applicable procedure is Rule 108 of the Rules of Court. So the court said that the acts, events, or factual errors contemplated under Article 407 of the Civil Code include even those that occur after birth. So the Supreme Court explained the change of sex of the respondent is beyond her control. She has congenital adrenal hyperplasia. This condition causes the early or inappropriate appearance of male characteristics. A person like respondent with this condition produces too much androgen and a male hormone. The respondent did not take any unnatural steps to alter or interfere with what he was born with. So he could have undergone medical treatment, but he chose not. He let nature take its due course to develop more of his male characteristics. Considering the consequence that respondent's change of name merely recognizes his preferred gender, the court find merit in respondent's change of name. Such a change will conform with the change of the entry in his birth certificate from female to male. So the court denied the petitions of the Republic and the decision of the regional trial court is affirmed. There is a difference between this case and Silverio's case. In Silverio's case, the petitioner is not suffering from a rare disorder that naturally alters his sex from one to another. In this case, he did not undergo any operations or any kind of steps to change his sex. So the court take notice on that matter. That is all, attorney.
Thank you, Lester. Huwag kang kabahan, relax ka lang.
This is my first time presenting in,
Oo, okay lang
in
yun.
a lot of persons.
Kabado ka masyado eh. Thank you for that. Yeah. If you'll notice from this two cases, actually related talaga sila in a sense, no? Kasi yung in Silverio's case at si Kagandahan's case is parang it parang involved the changing of the gender dun sa birth certificate record nila, no? And that is something that they have in common. Pero ang difference nila, their difference is that In the Silverio case, nag-undergo siya ng procedure to change to actually change the parang her genitals, no? Parang inalter niya. There is an operation that happened. Merong alteration. In the case of kagandahan, kagandahan he has congenital acute hyperplasia ba yun? Parang ganun. Na that makes her parang possess both sexual characteristics of a male and female. So in the case of Silverio, the court did not parang give her the choice to change, 'di ba? Kasi uh, ano eh uh, it was done through a procedure. Pero yung kay kagandahan, paano nito? Yung kay kagandahan naman, kasi yon, natural, no? And so the Supreme Court gave him a choice, not to choose yung his preferred sex. So yon, that's you should remember the distinction, kasi that was the first question in my civil law exam in 2018, no. Tapos tinatanong kung ano yung parang discuss the cases of Silverio and Kagandahan. So yun, di ba amazing? Pero anyway, that is a very good set of jurisprudence, no? So let's have next, sinong gustong sumunod?
Ako po, attorney.
Okay, sige. Take it away.
Okay. Good evening, attorney. Good evening, everyone. Before I proceed with the case, allow me to introduce myself first. My name is Jamela M. Guan, and I am currently a fourth-year BS Criminology student. So, without further ado, let's start with the case of United States versus Achong. GR number L5272. The defendant Achong worked as a cook while the deceased Pascual Gualberto was a houseboy at Fort McKinley in the province of Rizal. The two of them shared the officers' quarters number 27, a room having door with no permanent lock. As a means of securing it, a chair was placed against the door. Achong and Pascual had an understanding that when either of them returned at night, he should knock at the door and state his identity. But on the night of August 14, 1908, at around 10 in the evening, Achong, who was sleeping, was awakened by someone trying to forcefully open the door. He called twice, but there was no response. Fearing that the intruder might be a thief, Achong took his knife and struck the intruder when it entered the room. It turned out that the said intruder was his roommate, Pascual Gualberto. Despite his plea of self-defense, said defendant was found guilty with homicide. So the issue of this case is whether the defendant, by the reason of mistake of facts, criminally liable. The court held no criminal liability when one commits an offense or act due to ignorance of facts, provided that it was not due to negligence or bad faith. Such ignorance of facts is sufficient to negate the particular intent which is under the law is essential, especially in the crimes of malainse. In this case, the defendant struck the fatal blow on the belief that the intruder was a robber, on which his life and property was in danger. It is clear that he acted in good faith, without negligence, and without any criminal intent in exercising his right of self-defense. There can be no crime, large or small, without an evil mind. The author of the Penal Code deemed criminal intent or malice to be an essential element of the various crimes and misdemeanors. It is a principle that the essence of an offense is the wrongful intent, without which it cannot exist. In other words, punishment is a sequence of wickedness, without which it cannot be. And neither in philosophical speculation or in religious or moral sentiment would any people and any age allow that the man should be deemed guilty unless his mind was so. This doctrine is confirmed by maxim actus non facitorium nisi mensitria, in which the act itself does not make a man guilty unless his intentions were so. Thus, the court held that defendant Achong should be acquitted of the crime of homicide against Pascual Gualberto.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is a very interesting case. Ano? This is one of the few. This is one of the first cases that you will learn when you get to criminal law. Miss Guan, did you parang take this in your criminology class?
Yes po.
Okay. Yeah, because this is ano ba? This is an important case kasi it's theoretical eh. Kunwari, in this case kasi ang nangyari, lasing siya tapos parang hindi. Ang usapan nilang dalawa no ni Achong saka yung napatay niyang roommate niya. Kapag papasok ka ng bahay, kung kakatok ka, sabihin mo kung sino ka, no? Pero unfortunately, at that night, yung roommate niya was drunk, no? He was slamming his body towards the door, pero nung tinanong ni Achong kung sino ka, ganun, tinanong siya kung sino yung kumakatok, ayaw magsalita. Well, lasing naman din yung tao, no? So, nung pagpasok, nung nakapasok yung tao, parang, I'm not sure if kung nabatuta ba niya or kung hindi, batuta, parang may inampas siyang hard object which caused the death of the victim there. Now, the thing is that murder? Or is that homicide rather? Is that homicide? No, yung ginawa ni Achong. Achong claimed the self-defense, no? And ang naging atake dito ng Supreme Court is that this is a really really old case, no? Parang I think this is 1919.
1910 po.
1910. Oh, that if that's
During American regime.
Yes. So here, pala nito. Here, ang nangyari, 'di ba ang sabi dun sa quote na binigay ng Supreme Court in Latin, there's no crime if there's no criminal intent. Parang ganun yung sinasabi niya, no? In that case, wala namang intention si Achong to commit the crime, if not only for the fact that he was mistaken about the facts, no? It's a mistake of fact na syempre, may usapan kayo ng kasama mo eh. So kung tinanong mo siya, more likely dapat sasagot siya, 'di ba? Ang expectation is sasagot siya. So hindi siya sumagot. So inassume ni Achong na that is not his roommate. So and then he rendered the blow dun sa tao and then namatay siya. So ayun. In general, in criminal cases, criminal intent is presumed. May presumption of criminal intent. Pero in this case of Achong, because of that mistake of fact, nawala yung presumption na yon, na overturn yung presumption na yon, and he can now claim that it was self-defense, no? So this is a very interesting case, right? Really, it's really a good sample case to discuss yung actus reus at mens rea, no? If you, di ba na-discuss natin yon, but if you want to go back to that lesson, you can always go back to it, no? Thank you, Miss, ano pa naman ulit, nabuo?
Miss Guan po. Guan J. Mela po.
J. Mela. Okay. I prefer the full names eh. Parang, yes. Sino sunod?
Ako na lang po, attorney.
Okay. Yes, Miss Gonzalez.
Chingming Choi po.
Okay. Yes, go ahead. Although I think everyone knows this.
Upon sinabi kasi ni attorney na this is one of the most famous case in law school, I figure na-research ko din na this is one of the parang first cases you learn in persons and family relations. So I tried to practice the case digesting. So but I used the facts issue ruling format lang para simple lang. So the petitioner here is Gina Lao Choi. and the defendant is Chingming Choi. So the facts of the case are as follows. Number one, Chingming Choi avoids having intercourse with wife, Gina Lao Choi, and also during their honeymoon, they have not seen each other's private parts. So Gina Lao Choi claims that his husband is impotent and a closet homosexual and only married her to hide his homosexuality because of his refusal to show his private parts. The plaintiff also argued yun nga, that the defendant married her to only acquire his Filipino citizenship and to maintain his image as a normal man or as someone who is not homosexual. Defendant argued that throughout the course of their early marriage, he attempted to have intercourse with his wife but was always rejected. But ang sinasabing intercourse ni Chingming Choi is yung pag ano niya lang, caress niya lang sa body parts ng wife niya. So still no showing of his own private parts. So since there was an issue about his impotency, the defendant was submitted for a medical examination and discovered that his penis was capable of erection, but from 2 inches, it lengthened by 1 inch when erect, but which was proof that he was capable of having intercourse with the woman. Pero this kind of erection daw was only soft, so kaya pa daw siya tumaas. Kaya pa daw siya tumaas. So there is proof that he's very much capable of having intercourse with his wife. But after almost 10 months of cohabitation, the admission that the husband is reluctant or unwilling to perform the sexual act with his wife, whom he professes to love very dearly and who has not posed any insurmountable resistance to his alleged approaches, is indicative of a hopeless situation and of a serious personality disorder that constitutes psychological incapacity. So the issue in this case is whether or not the marriage can be voidable or annullable on the ground of psychological incapacity. The psychological incapacity being ayaw makipag-intercourse ni Chingming Choi. So the ruling for the case is the issue has been affirmed. The Court of Appeals thereby ruled that the marriage is voidable under the ground of psychological incapacity based on Article 68 of the Family Code, wherein it states that one of the essential marital obligations is to procreate children based on the universal principle that procreation of children through sexual cooperation is the basic end of marriage. Sa Article 68, ito mismo yung sinabi, the husband and wife are obliged to live together, observe mutual love, respect fidelity, and render mutual help and support. So what is lacking in this case is that they observe mutual love. So ayun po yung naging basis niya for the annulment of the marriage. Ayun lang.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Yung itong case na to actually is famous only because of that measurement thing. Yun siguro yung pinaka-highlight ng mga tao na fact about this case. It's really an interesting case really beside that, no? Ano siya? So here it was highlighted that yung obligation ng husband and wife to observe mutual love, and by love the Supreme Court interpreted that parang to mean na meron ding sexual meron ding sexual component, no? But then again, if you will have to caution your understanding of this not to mean na to yung about sa marital rape, because that is also a thing, no? That you can still be liable for rape. So essentially hindi mo ino-own yung asawa mo, pero you need to do it, no? Pero consensually, hindi yung sapilitan, no? The thing is, ang isang importante siguro na ano dito na naging discussion din nila is yung about sa relative impotence. A person can be impotent towards one person but not impotent towards another, no? So may ganong naging discussion din diyan. Meron ding na cite na foreign jurisprudence diyan on triennial cohabitation, if I remember it right, no? Pero ayun, there parang kung if you cannot consummate the marriage, that amounts to psychological incapacity. Pero siguro Miss Gonzalez, so to parang to prepare you na rin for law school, no, if you wish to, yung voidable or annullable na sinasabi mo kanina is not technically correct, no? void talaga yung ginagamit nila. Kasi yung Article 26, Article 36, yung psychological incapacity is a ground to render a marriage void, not voidable. Kasi magkaiba yung concept ng void at voidable under the civil code, under the family code rather. So be careful lang doon. When we use terminologies, and this applies to everyone, no? And this applies to all of your law school, yung mga magiging encounters sa law school. Terminologies are everything, no? In fact, kahit na mali yung sagot mo sa isang discussion, if you got your terms right, may partial points pa rin yun. So be very careful about yung mga yung terminology, no? Pero that was a really good digest, very easy to understand. And you highlighted the most important and most most sought after fact in that case. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Sino sunod?
Ako po.
Okay. Sige.
Sige,
Sige na lang.
si Miss Rosales muna, tapos si Miss Asgar sunod. Okay lang?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. My case is about Zacarias Villavicencio et al. Petitioners versus Justo Lucban et al. So here are the notable people involved. 170 women of ill repute. Justo Lucban, Mayor of the City of Manila. Anton Homan, Chief of Police of the City of Manila. Jose Rodriguez and Fernando Ordax, members of the Police Force of the City of Manila. Francisco Sales, Provincial Governor of Davao. Feliciano Inigo, a haciendero of Davao. Modesto Joaquin, the attorney for the Bureau of Labor. Anacleto Diaz, Fiscal of the City of Manila. So the facts, Mayor Justo Lucban, in an effort to curb vice in Manila, ordered the segregated district for women of ill repute be closed. Between October 16th and October 25th, 1918, the women were then kept confined to their houses in the district by the police. It was presumed that during this period, he quietly perfected arrangements with the Bureau of Labor to send these women to Davao as laborers, with a government office for the use of the ships Corregidor and Negros, and with a constabulary for the use of soldiers. So around midnight of October 25th, the police, acting pursuant to orders from their chief Anton Homan and the mayor of the City of Manila, Justo Lucban, descended upon the houses, hustled some 170 inmates into patrol wagons, and placed them aboard the steamers that awaited their arrival. The women were not given time to collect their belongings, nor were they informed that they were headed to a life in Mindanao. They were under the impression that they were just going to be taken to the police station for questioning. They did not give their consent to their deportation. Traveling with them were a representative from the Bureau of Labor and some constabulary soldiers. So the vessels arrived in Davao on October 29th. The women were landed and received for as laborers by the provincial governor Francisco Sales and by the haciendero Feliciano Inigo and Rafael Castillo. Sales and Inigo had no previous knowledge that these women were prostitutes from the City of Manila. The families of the deported women came forward to file charges against Mayor Justo Lucban, Chief of Police Anton Homan, and Governor Francisco Sales. They prayed for a writ of habeas corpus to be issued against the respondents to bring back the women. The mayor and the chief, in response, moved to have the case dismissed because the petitioners were not proper parties, because the actions should have begun in the court of first instance for Davao, because they have no control, because they no longer have any of the women under their custody or control, and because the jurisdiction did not extend beyond the boundaries of Manila. So the issue, are we a government of men or are we a government of laws? Should the writ of habeas corpus be granted? Were the actions taken by the mayor valid and constitutional? Held. The Supreme Court held that we are a government of laws, and writ was granted. There is no law authorizing the mayor and the chief of police to trespass on these women's constitutional rights to abode, liberty, and locomotion. The prostitutes are still citizens and are entitled to the same Bill of Rights as everyone else. Their choice of profession should not be means to discriminate against them So, while their occupation may make some people uncomfortable, it is not reason enough to isolate them from the rest of the human race. The court asked as well to consider whether agreement to the mayor's and chief's request for dismissal of the case would imply. It means that they are agreeing to the idea that the chief executive of any municipality in the Philippines could forcibly and illegally take a private citizen and place him beyond the boundaries of the municipality, and then when called upon to defend his official action, could calmly fold his hands and claim that the person was under no restraint and that he, the official, had no jurisdiction over this other municipality. They concurred that since restraint of liberty happened, the writ of habeas corpus should all the more be enforced. Furthermore, the court stated that while there is no law justifying the removal of these women from their residences and transporting them to a foreign place without their consent, Philippine penal law specifically punishes any public officer who, not being expressly authorized by law or regulation, compels any person to change his residence.
Okay na, Mr. Sales?
Body in the U.S. system, federal courts. Okay, so that's it. Thank you everyone for listening.
Ako pala yung tumigil.
Okay, so that's it.
Yes, sorry.
Okay,
Wait
so
for a
yun
while.
lang.
I'll change, na naman, net, Wi-Fi connection, namatay yung cellphone ko rin. Okay, thank you for that presentation, Mr. Sales. If you listened well sa sa discussion to Mr. Sales on Villavicencio and versus Lukban case, sino yung nag-static? Ako ba yun?
Yes, sir.
Can I mute you for a while, Miss Rosales, if that's fine? Okay, good. Ayun, ikaw pala yun. And anyway, yun. The Villavicencio versus Lukban is a very important case, no? It's about parang it's parang intention versus the law, no? Kasi in the case of Villavicencio versus Lukban, para matanggal yung prostitution sa Manila, the mayor of Manila transported yung mga tinatawag niyang women of ill repute from Manila to Davao. So, maganda yung intention, correct? The intention is to rid Manila of prostitution. Binigyan naman sila ng doon. They had a decent living, no? Pero ang naging problem was yung what do you call this? Ang naging problem doon sa case na yon is was that proper, no? It all boils down to the issue of human rights. Meron silang karapatan to freedom of movement, mga ganyan, pero because they were transported elsewhere, they were transported to Davao, may mukhang na-curtail yung kanilang liberty, no? And their freedom of movement. So, ayan. And yung liberty of abode, kung saan nila gustong tumira, doon sila dapat, no? While the intention is good, it's lauded naman ng Supreme Court yung kanilang intention eh. But yung how it was implemented needs improvement, no? We are after all a government of law, not a government of men, no? We are a state of law, not a state of men. So regardless of your intention, if it is against the law, it is against the law, no? So we should take that is the most parang important takeaway from that case, I think. Thank you, Mr. Sales. Sino sunod?
Ako po, attorney.
Okay, Miss Asgar, go ahead.
So, good evening, everyone. I will be discussing the case between Erasuke versus Philippine Airlines. A former flight attendant named Armando Erasuke of Philippine Airlines was called to address his weight concerns. Apparently, Armando weighed more than the required weight standards mandated by the Cabin and Crew Administration Manual of Philippine Airlines, which is 166 pounds. As such, Armando was placed into an unpaid vacation in order for him to trim down. This went on for almost 5 years until he was dismissed for violation of company rules and regulations. Philippine Airlines reasoned out that, despite the leniency and repeated extension of his days to comply with the weight standards, he still failed to do so. The Supreme Court dismissed the claim of discrimination by Armando as he failed to provide evidence to prove such a claim substantially. As to the weight standards, it was expounded that the law leaves no room for mistake or oversight on the part of a common courier. The task of a cabin crew or flight attendant is not limited to serving meals or attending to the whims and caprices of the passengers. Excuse me. The most important activity of the cabin crew is to care for the safety of passengers and the evacuation of the aircraft when an emergency occurs. Passenger safety goes to the core of the job of a cabin attendant. Truly, airlines need cabin attendants who have the necessary strength to open emergency doors, the agility to attend to passengers in cramped working conditions, and the stamina to withstand grueling flight schedules. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Asgar, for the discussion of Erasuegi versus PAL. Dito naman sa Erasuegi versus PAL case, this is a labor case, no? The main issue here is whether the Supreme Court whether PAL was justified in in firing Iraswegi for the reason that he is fat. No? That was the main ano. Parang kung if you will laymanize that case, yun yung magiging labas nung phrasing niya. So the Supreme Court said here na on the ground on account of yung weight ni Iraswegi, it is under the circumstances okay, no, to terminate Iraswegi for failure to parang reduce weight, to parang to comply with company policies on weight. Bakit daw? Kasi uh, plane travel is parang not like the normal travel na kailangan mo mag-fit to a certain parang width, no, para maka-pass through ka very uh, nang smoothly from aisle to aisle sa aisle ng plane, no. And another thing is flight attendants are expected to undergo are expected to assist yung mga passengers on times na merong disaster, no, in times na merong kunwari magka-crash yung plane or sinusunog yung plane. They are assigned to help the mga passengers, no. So weight is a very important thing when it comes to air travel, no. Kaya nga yung mga baggages hindi dapat sobra sa required weights, no, sa mga weights na prescribed by the plane. Kasi sensitive yung air travel kasi there's no parang pag nag-crash yun, there's no way that you will survive. Parang the chance of survival is slim, no. So it is a business decision that is based on logic. Logical naman yung naging business decision. It was it is okay to discriminate on matters of weight in that kind of industry, no. Justified siya. So yun lang naman yung sinasabi doon. Meron pa ba? Meron pa bang hindi na di-discuss na case? Meron pa tayong
Wala na po ata.
Meron pang actually isa pero wala yung magdi-discuss. So pala na to. Yung this is a very important case. I think I need to discuss this. wala yung magdi-discuss. So, I'll discuss this. Guevara versus Ayala. You should read this. You should read this case because it's cheesy. It's about Totga, no? Yung the one that got away ng mga tao. So, here is attorney Ayala. If you read the case, no, attorney Ayala is parang meron siyang love of his life, Irene, na who happens to who happens to have parang for some reason nagpakasal siya sa doon sa complainant, si Guevara, no? And sabi parang basahin ko yung letter, ha. Although if you read yung nung nakaraang batch nung I also read this same letter. Siya, nagpakasal na si Irene kay Guevara. Pero hindi pa rin tumigil si Ayala courting hindi man courting pero parang yung pangalan nito, yung in showing his affection to Irene, no? Basahin natin, ha? Saan na yan? Okay. My dearest Irene, by the time you open this, you'll be moments away from walking down the aisle. I say a prayer for you that you will find meaning in what you're about to do. Sometimes I wonder why we ever met. Is it only for me to find fleeting happiness but experience eternal pain? Or is it for us to find a true love but then lose it again? Or is it because of... Sige, i-share ko na nga lang. Wait lang. I-share screen ko na lang para nakikita nyo rin. Hindi lang ako nagbabasa. Ayan. Can you read? Can you see it? Okay. Yan. So, sometimes I wonder why we ever met. Is it only for me to find fleeting happiness but experience eternal pain? Or is it only for us to find a true love and then lose it again? Or is it because there's a bigger plan for the two of us? I hope that you have experienced true happiness with me. I have done everything humanly possible to love you. And today, as you make your vows, I make my own vow for you. I will love you for the rest of my life. I love you from the first time I laid my eyes on you to the time we spent together up to the final moments of your single life. But more importantly, I love you until the life in me is gone and until we are together again. Do not worry about me. I will be happy for you. I have enough memories for us to last a lifetime. Always remember, though, that in my heart, in my mind, and in my soul, you will always and wonderful things to do be mine, and mine alone, and I will always be yours and yours alone. I love you forever. I love you for always. As long as I'm living, my tweety you'll be. Eternally yours, Nolly. This is Ayala. No. So, yun yung letter niya. And that in that case, Irene is married, but they are having extramarital affairs. No? So, and then the Supreme Court disbarred Ayala for the actions, no? So, yan. That's cheesy. Anyway, sa mga may thought ko dyan, baka nakaka-relate kayo, no? Sad life. Anyway, yan. So those are our cases. Thank you sa ating mga reporters for doing a great job in reporting our cases. No. Let me share my screen again for the continuation ng ating discussion. Pero maiksi na lang ito. Yan. How to answer your law school exams. Una, be concise but precise. No? Concise in a sense na maiksi lang. It doesn't have to be long. Basta na-discuss mo na yung answer mo, the reason why you had that answer, it's okay. Okay na yun. Pero the problem kasi is pag masyadong haba kasi yung sagot, there may be baka wala ka ng time for the other questions, no? So be concise. Pero precise pa rin, dapat tama pa rin yung sinasagot mo doon, no? Dapat based on law pa rin. Okay. Next, state the categorical answer in the first sentence if I when applicable. So, kunwari, if you were the judge, will you rule if you are the judge, decide, sabi niya. What you will do is una, copy the question of the in your categorical answer. So ipaparot mo lang yung last sentence, no? If I were the judge, I would decide in favor of ganito. Yun yung categorical statement mo na first, and then supported by law na later, and then repeat it sa conclusion, no? Yung phrase na who is liable, parang is Ayala is Ayala should the Supreme Court disbar Ayala, mga ganun. The answer is never it depends. Parang rare na acceptable yung it depends as an answer. Yung it depends as an answer, sagot na lang ng lawyer 'yon. Pero yung it depends as an answer is not the answer of a law student, no? You must take a stand in your answer. Okay? So, yun. Always cite your legal basis. Of course, definitely, you'll have to cite it. Pero, hindi naman required na sabi mo na Article 59 of the Civil Code provides mga ganun. No. Pwede na siya na the law provides that kung talagang hindi mo maalala kung saang batas siya galing. Pero pwede naman kapag alam mo kung saang batas pero hindi mo lang alam yung exact na article, Article 115 of the Revised Penal Code provides that. Mga ganun. The Revised Penal Code provides that. Mga ganun lang. General, alam mo, nagaling sa Revised Penal Code, kaya yun lang masasabi mo. Pero kung alam mo naman talaga, like under Article 115 of the Revised Penal Code, mga ganun, okay lang yun. Pero make sure na tama yun, no? Make sure na tama yung sinasite mo. Baka naman pala mali. Pag chinek nung examiner, 115 na siya sabi nito. So, mali pala. Yung nakalagay doon, no? So, to be sure, ilagay mo lang, the law states, or the civil code states, the Negotiable Instruments Act says, mga ganun. Okay. Next, restate the categorical answer in your conclusion. Pwede mong ulitin yung categorical statement mo doon sa una, doon sa baba. Or rephrase it. Pero same intention. Do not introduce issues that are not related to the question. Kaya humahaba yung sagot ng iba kasi papunta ng kumbaga papunta ng is-av yung tanong, papunta ng kung saan man yung iba, no? Papunta kung saan yung sagot niya. Nasa kamuning na yung sagot. So, kung lang yung tinatanong, yun lang yung sagutin. Minsan sa ka-overshare natin, baka mali pa yung mai-share natin. So, make sure that your answers are related to the question itself, no? Now, you will encounter professors in law school that prefer yung ALAC method or yung mahabang sagot, no? Yung answer, legal basis, ano ba yun? May APA, tapos conclusion. Ganun. I don't recommend that. Hindi ko ginawa yun sa bar. I pass naman, so it works. It works either way, no? Pero wag masyadong sobrang haba ng sagot kasi baka mahirapang magbasa yung magpapa-exam, no? Be concise. Dapat maiksi lang yung sagot. Hindi naman kailangang mahaba, no? So, yan. Brevity is your friend. Okay, here's an example. Ito gawa-gawa ko lang to, ha. Okay. A asserts that she is no longer liable to B for the debt amounting to 2 million pesos because 10 years has lapsed since she contracted the loan despite repeated written demands from B. Is A correct? Mga ganyan. A is not correct. Okay? So, nakita niyo doon, yung last question is yung sa question, ang last niya is A correct. Sa answer mo, be direct, be categorical about it. A is not correct. The Civil Code provides that the prescriptive period of debt, the prescriptive period for debts arising from loans shall be reckoned from the date of the last demand. Considering that B consistently issued written demands to A, the debt is not prescribed even though 10 years has lapsed since the debt was contracted. Therefore, A is not correct in saying that the debt. Sorry about that again. Saan ako nag-stop? Saan niyo ako hindi narinig? Hello?
Yung sa sir, yung sa loan.
Okay, sa answer ako. I'll share that one. So here, if you'll notice, again, I'll repeat, yung pinarot natin last na question, yung sa question, inulit lang natin doon sa answer. A is not correct or A is correct. Kung correct si A is correct. Pag hindi siya correct, A is not correct. Ganun. Tapos, you will ito. The civil code provides, kasi ako nung ginagawa ko to, hindi ko sure kung saang article ng civil code ko makikita. Yon. So, the civil code, ganyan. Ganyan na siya. So, nandiyan na yung legal basis kaagad sa unang sentence pa lang, after the categorical answer. And then, yung explanation mo, and then, you repeat, you conclude doon sa dulo. And then, yung conclusion mo is parang precisely similar doon sa iyong categorical answer. Inulot mo lang, just for the sake of the reader. No? Yun, parang siya, para siyang math na ipapakita mo yung proof before of why you arrived at the answer. No? Hindi lang pwedeng sagot lang. Of course, pwede mo sabihin dito na, is A correct? A is not correct. At yun na yun. Pwede mong gawin yun, pero mali yun. No? hindi nila i-consider yun. Kailangan mo ng legal basis. Kailangan mo ipakita yung proof kung bakit ganun. No? So, that is how you answer law school exams. I'm sorry for my internet. It's really bothering me. Okay. So, what career paths can you go to after this? Siyempre, mag-law school muna kayo, di ba? Tapos maging lawyer kayo, eventually where will you go? Next, marami na akong pwedeng puntahan when you are a lawyer. Pwede kang pumunta sa maging judge eventually, no? 5 years, if you're 5 years a lawyer, pwede ka sa MTC, 10 years sa RTC, and then you go up. Okay? Pwedeng researcher ka ng isang justice, ganun, pwede 'yon. Pwede kang maging clerk of court, pwede kang maging court staff, kung ano man yung doon, kung ano man ng court decongestion officer, for example. May mga may mga court staff na mga lawyers. Actually, yung mga court staff, kahit admin sa Supreme Court are lawyers, no? You can be a prosecutor. Sa prosecutor, usually yung mga nagpo-file ng cases, no? Yung sa PAW lawyers, kayo naman yung magde-defend sa mga mga walang pera, pambayad ng abogado, pwede ka sa PAW. Private practitioner, pwede kang private practice, which is ironically, it's no longer the most common career path, no, among lawyers right now. Parang maraming hindi na nagpa-practice. Just like me, I don't. Dito ako sunod. Government lawyers in NGAs, LGUs, constitutional commissions, and other government bodies. So, practically all agencies have their lawyers, no? Kahit na kahit na national government agency, local government, constitutional commissions, at iba pang mga government bodies, they all have lawyers. So that could be a career path. Kung gusto mo ng stable na income, kung di ka naman galing sa rich family that you cannot create your own law firm, your law office on your own, hindi ka pa mag-practice kasi wala kang pera, di ba, to begin with, you can go to this. You can go as a government lawyer, sa prosecution, sa PAW, although medyo mahirap dyan if you don't have dyan sa mga prosecutors, sa PAW, ganun, medyo mahirap. Pero yeah, you can go to the government. You can also be a lawyer in the academe. Pwedeng sa pwedeng magturo, ganyan. Yan, pwede ka dyan. Pero ito, career paths, pag pag lawyer ka na, once you become a lawyer, you can also be corporate lawyers. Yung sa mga businesses, ganyan, sa big businesses, pwedeng may sariling law, magtrabaho sa law firm, mga ganyan. Usually sa mga they can be partners or managers sa mga law firms, sa mga accounting firms, mga ganon, may mga ganon din. Pwede ka rin maging arbiter, mediator, conciliator, labor, commercial, construction. Basically, ano ba, lawyers are everywhere, no? Kahit saan mo pwede kang kahit saan na may kahit saan na may legal issue, meron at merong lawyer. So arbiters, mediators, conciliators, ito yung mga ano naman, conciliate ng mga, kunwari, construction disputes, labor disputes, mga ganun, commercial disputes. Sila yung mga parang nagtatry or nag-attempt na for the two parties not to go to court and settle their differences nang sila lang, no? So, yun. So, this is where you can go as lawyers. So, with that, I think napasadahan na natin yung mga dapat nating tignan sa week 4. So, if you have questions, please raise them na lang dun sa chat natin. I can see. Okay. I-stop share ko lang and then we'll be discussing your questions. If you still have questions, you can raise them dito sa chat natin para may pag-usapan tayo. Okay. Good evening, attorney. How about stenographer, paralegal, legal assistant? May advantage or edge po ba if may work ng hindi full-time law student? May advantage or edge po ba if yun ang work ng hindi full-time law student? Yes, of course. If you have exposure sa batas on a regular basis, that could be an advantage on your part. Lalo na kapag nagtatrabaho ka sa court, no? That is the best training, I think, to be a lawyer pag nasa court ka na. Legal assistant, pag stenographer, okay lang. Pag stenographer, kasi maririnig mo rin yung mga arguments ng mga lawyers, no? Paralegal, legal assistant, okay yan. Just be wary kasi baka naman pala hindi naman pala legal yung ginagawa ng boss mo, baka ginaya mo rin, hindi ka makapasok ng bargain, no? So be careful lang. Pero if you're working in the courts, okay yan, that's okay kasi naman, what you're dealing there is what's correct, no? Kayo naman ang nag-adjudicate ng mga disputes, so presumably that's mas magandang training yun if I were you. Is there such a thing as an overloading or underloading of units in law school? Meron po bang nadidelay o sadyang nadidelay, for example, because they have jobs on the side while studying? Meron talagang mga nag-underload. Meron talagang mga... kasi sa law school naman, you are not required to finish it in 4 years. Pwede mo siyang kunin ng paunti-unti. In my case, I was a working student, pero nagawan kasi ng paraan yung schedule. Parang 7 to 4 yung schedule ko, and then I had to travel for 1.5 hours, tapos 5:30 yung classes. So kaya siyang i-full time, no? Pero pwede ka naman mag-underload if you want to. Tinatanong mo pala kung may overloading or underloading. Of course merong overloading. Pero sa underloading, kapag overload ka, hindi mo pwedeng kunin lahat ng sabay-sabay, no? Pero sa underloading, okay lang 'yun. May mga kumukha nga lang 2, 3 subjects, ganun. Pwede yun. Meron po bang mga nade-delay o sadyang napapadelay because example, hindi factor ang trabaho kung made-delay ka o hindi. I don't believe that, no? Sa akin, yung trabaho, it can motivate you or it can take your time, parang it can take your time to study kaya ka na de-demotivate to study, no? Pero no, hindi naman sa sinasadya siguro, pero it does take time, it does take some of your time studying, pero hindi siya excuse for you not to to do well in law school. That's just my opinion, no? If natingin na po ba yung mga subjects sa undergrad, will it be credited in law school? No, hindi. Kasi, do you call this? Yung sa undergrad, iba yun eh. Sa undergrad, that's the, paano ba yun? Laymanized version of the law na tinuturo namin. No? Laymanized version ng discussion pala, rather. It's the same law, pero laymanized version. Parang ako, I used to teach obligations and contracts sa mga business ad students. Tourism-related laws and obligations and contracts sa mga tourism students. So it's not really the same. So hindi siya creditable, if that's your question. What is more preferable, JD thesis or JD non-thesis? Depende sa'yo. Kung gusto mo mas mabilis matapos, yung non-thesis. Pero kung gusto mong mas matagal, yung non-thesis ka. Ang alam ko kasi yung sad ng thesis, ano mo lang yun, idadagdagan mo lang ng isang elective yata o dalawa. Pero still, I think kung experience ang hinahanap mo, kung gusto mo mabilis, non-thesis ka. JD and LLB, I think lahat naman na ng what's the difference between JD and LLB? Actually sa ngayon yata JD naman na lahat eh. So there's really not much difference there. Yun, just the name. Good evening, attorney. I studied med school for 3 years kasi it's not for me. Now I went to law school kasi I feel like it's my second. Tingin ko po sir, anong magandang path para di naman nasayang yung 3 years in med school. My psychiatrist also asked me if kung ako sa'yo, kung may medical background ka naman, finish law school and finish med. After your law school, you can finish med. Kasi ilang ka na ba? 3 years na yan, no? 3 years na kayong med school mo, sayang naman yan. Or, gaya nga nung sinabi ko kanina, meron nga ding medical jurisprudence na, na field sa law, no? Pwede kang mag-NBI, medical legal, later. Pero you don't need, kailangan ba maging doctor pag medical legal? Yata, oo. So, you'll need to finish. Or pwedeng investigator, yun hindi naman kailangan maging doktor. Maganda rin, maganda yung may medical background tsaka may law background. No? I have this classmate na doktor na siya, matagal na siyang doktor before she entered law school. Ngayon, isa mga pinakamagaling na law students sa school namin, tas magaling pa siya. Ngayon, lawyer na siya, ang galing-galing yung, she does both at the same time. No? Amazing woman, really. Work-life balance tips for future working law school students. Work-life balance, alam mo, devote, parang, ang ginawa ko dati ay compartmentalized, no? Compartmentalize ko in a sense na, okay, ito law school ka lang, itong time na to law school ka lang, itong time na to trabaho ka lang. I don't, kahit naman nag-uwi ako ng trabaho, kahit paano, naka-compartmentalize yung oras, no? So yan. Good evening, attorney. Is law school expensive? It is. Hindi man expensive yung tuition. Although in some schools, really, it's really expensive. Mas malaki pa nga yung tuition sa ibang law school kaysa monthly na sahod ko eh. Pero yan, it is expensive because of the books mostly. No? Yung mga libro. And I do not recommend that you photocopy or you print mga ganun. Kasi pareho lang. Bili mo na lang kung kaya mong bilhin. Pareho lang eh. Nabubura rin. Okay. Ito may comment dito. San Sebastian Recoletos offers working student program 6 years po. Just 11 years. Even UP has a working student program yata 5 years. If I'm not mistaken. Everyday po ba may klase sa bawat subject? I'm wondering how 17 units fit in a week kung gabi lang po may klase. Okay. May iba-iba yan eh. Mga law school na kunwari yung 3 units, hatiin nila sa 3 meetings sa isang araw. Pero, parang 3 hours sa gabi, 4 hours, mga ganun. 5 ang maximum hours sa gabi. Pero may Saturday classes kasi. May buong Saturday may class. So, ganun siya. Napagkasya naman yung 17 units actually. Pero araw-araw definitely may class. Pero hindi, sa isang subject, for example, in our case, isang subject isang araw. So kung Monday, civil procedure ka lang ng Monday. Wala na sa ibang days of the week. Pero may mga schools din na pang 3 units gagawin nilang Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I don't find that effective. May mga ganun. Iba-iba rin ng style. Advantages, disadvantages of working full-time, working student. Okay, advantage ng full-time, marami kang oras. Pero hindi rin kasi ibig sabihin na full-time ka ay nag-aaral ka rin. I know because for a few months, wala akong trabaho. So, nung umpisa pa lang, wala akong trabaho. So, dami oras, pero hindi naman nagbasa. Natulog lang din ako. Pero, disadvantage ng working student, ng full-time student, wala kang pera kung hindi ka nakarely sa parents mo. No? If you are a working student, ang disadvantage talaga nun yung time. Talagang mangangain ng oras yun, lalo pag talagang dibdiban yung trabaho mo. Pero ang advantage yun, may pera ka to buy books, mga ganun. That's what I did. Ayun, may nagsabi nga din dito, yung working, may pera, disadvantage, kulang sa time. Yes, totoo yan. What is the best age to start law school? There's no best age to start law school. I regret parang entering law school at a young age. Masyado pang bata, dapat sana nag-enjoy pa ako. Pero wala naman. May matatanda ka, naglo-law school pa rin eh. So, there's really not, I don't believe in a best age to enter law school, to start law school. Aside from being a paralegal, ano pong legal related na career path na okay for pre-law students na nag-iipon for law school? I don't recommend government unless you are a legal assistant ng isang lawyer sa government. Court staff really ang pinaka-best sa akin outside yung ganun. May advantage po ba if JD thesis compared to JD non-thesis? Maganda yung JD thesis in a sense na when you apply for an LLM, hindi ka na mahirapan. For a Master of Laws, hindi ka mahirapan. Really, maganda. Forensic science, yes. Yung sa med kanina, that's your path. This ain't a question, message of appreciation. Like what I've said in the registration form, I am a law student. Planning to be back there, yes. Go ahead, push mo yan, ha? Tuloy-tuloy mo na. Mahirap yung law school na putol-putol. Masakit na yun. Masakit sa ulo yun. Recommended law school, of course, kung recommended law school lang, UP yan. Of course, I have a bias. Pero hindi ako UP law. I'm from a provincial school. Pero I recommend UP really. The approach is different. The approach is, parang dibdiban yung approach doon, pero maganda kasi research-based. UP's program, sana nga, kung pwede ko lang ulitin yung law school, kung sa UP ko yung kukunin. Pero kung mahirap naman din ang entry dyan, di pumunta ka na rin sa mga ibang magandang schools din naman. Yung parang Ivy League ng Pilipinas sa law. 3 lang yan. Sa UST, San Beda, tsaka Ateneo. Other than UP, of course. May scholarship po ba sa law school? Depende sa school. Pero pag in some private schools, pag government ka, may discount. Ako din, ganun ako eh. Government employee ako, so merong discount. Tips para sa pre-bar exam. Ang layo muna. Pero sige, tips for pre-bar exam. Basta wag ka na mag-aral ng matindihan sa before the exam. Yun siguro ang pinaka may bibigay kong advice. And prepare, really. There's no substitute. Mag-prepare lang, magbasa. Pero wag ka ring basa lang na walang fun. That's boring. Any tips for LAE or PhilSat? Ako sa mga exams, read up. Parang civil service lang din naman yung mga yan eh. Yung sa law aptitude exam ng mga essay, ganyan. It's more on your writing really than the content. Kasi hindi naman nila na-expect na may yan eh, na maalam kayo sa batas. So if you are taking the LAE or the PhilSat, yung sa PhilSat kasi multiple choice yan, di ba? Pero sa LAE yata, may essay ba yun? I don't know. Pero siya, just the same, take note of the time, tapos be decisive when you're there. At never doubt your, if you have no other recourse, pumunta ka dun sa sa gut feeling. It helps. What school do you recommend for law school? Nasagot ko na yung kanina. Seminars, trainings to take, makatulong sa entering or okay. Anong seminars, yung trainings or workshops ang dapat i-take para to entering law school? Walang ganun. Ito lang siguro. Wag na siguro, wag na kasi siguro kayo mag ng oras para sa ganyan. Pre-bar exam pa yung mga panahon na nagre-review. Pag nagre-review ka, mag-review ka, mag-take note, ganun, makinig sa reviewer, ganyan. Tama. PhilSat is no longer required. Books to recommend sa paghahanda sa law school, always the Constitution. It's always best to invest in De Leon's Constitution kasi yun yung pinakamadali na intindihan, I think. When did you realize na gusto mong mag-take up ng law? I did not realize that at all. Sinama lang, nakaladkad lang ako nung kaibigan ko kung kaya ako nag-take ng law, no? Ayun. Pero natutunan ko siya mahalin. Teka lang, dami yung message. Sandali lang, dahan-dahan. What keeps you going po during your time as a law student? What kept me going? Nung una, na-enjoy ko kasi siya. Pero along the way, parang what kept me going is nasasayangan ako dun sa binabayad ko. So, might as well continue, di ba? Ganun lang yun. Kahit iba-iba tayo ng motivation, pero ano yan, maganda ang law school, promise. I'm telling you. It will open your eyes and minds to a variety of things. Maganda siya even if you are not planning to be a lawyer. May factor pa po ba yung law school sa papasokan kapag mag-abogado, provincial or Manila? May epekto po ba sa practice ng law? Definitely, there's a difference. May difference. Una, connections mo pa lang, wala ka na sa pagdating mo sa provincial. At mahihirapan ka maghanap ng trabaho if you do not intend to do private practice. Mas maganda talaga ang affiliation kapag nasa Manila school ka. Pero I'm not saying that provincial schools are inferior than Manila schools. Hindi. I'm talking of connections, no? And access to materials. Kasi yung mga reviewers ay nandito nasa NCR. Yung mga reviewers ng bar nasa NCR sila. So advantage 'yun ng mga advantage 'yun ng mga taga Manila. But otherwise there's really no difference. You're studying the same law, no? Ayan. Since PhilSat's not required, pre-law degree na lang po ba talaga ang requirement? Yes. I think pati yung mga English units yun hindi tinanggal na rin yata. I'm not sure pero parang ganun. Recommended law school for working students. Merong mga schools na may program na ganun, na for working students. At what age po you will recommend to enter law school? Ano ba? Ano bang age na wala eh. Pero siguro ang range siguro it's maybe from 25 to 40. Yon siguro ang age that I recommend. Kasi pag fresh from college ka, magtrabaho ka muna for a few years. But I don't recommend na dire-diretso. May prerequisite po ba na degrees before you take up law? Any 4-year degree will do. Kahit ano. Basta 4-year degree siya, okay lang. BS Bio ako, nakapasok ako sa law school. No English units or SOCSA units required. Yes. Wala na ngayon. Dati meron. Tips in reciting or studying in law school in blended learning. Basta wag mong gagawin yung pinagbabawal na technique na ma-disconnect ka kunwari pag online, no? Wag 'yan. No? Wag natin gawin 'yan. Marami akong estudyante ganun pag magre-recite na madidisi. Parang sinong niloko niyo? Anyway, yan. Hindi, joke lang. I'm just kidding. No? Pero, yan. Tips in reciting, basta kung ano yung alam mo, sabi mo lang. In blended learning. Sabi mo lang kung ano yung alam mo. And you can prepare your notes naman kapag blended kasi nakikita mo naman yung side ng diba, ng laptop. So you can do that. Pero pag sa face-to-face, of course, you don't have the notes. So kailangan mo basahin, kailangan mo talagang kabisado yung reading mo. Basta wag mong sisimulan yung sasabi mo ng I think, no? I believe ganito po 'yon. No, we're not asking for your opinion. Sabihin sa iyo. So, the law says, mga ganun, parang firm ka kahit naman hindi ka sure. Sabi mo lang that the law says ganyan. Just tatanungin ka, anong law 'yan? Bakit congressman ka na ba? Binabago mo na yung batas, mga ganun sila. Pero hayaan niyo lang pag hindi niyo nasagot, edi move on. Sa law school matututo ka mag-move on. Kasi kakatapos lang ng recitation, tas hindi mo ikakalugmok 'yun kasi meron ka pa ulit recitation sa ibang subject. So, kalma ka lang. Parang matututo ka na mag-move on ng okay, ganun. Tapos na. Next. Ganun lang. Wala lahat naman tayo makakaranas ng ganun. Lahat sa law school makakaranas ng humiliation, ganun. Pero na lang 'yun eh. Hindi ka naman mahiya sa mga klase mo kasi at turn mo lang naman mapahiya yung pero sila din sa susunod. Okay. Is memorization a huge factor in practicing law? Would it be harder to pass the bar if you have memory problems? Common misconception yan that you need to memorize. No, not really. Ako, siguro the only provision that I wrote in my exam paper that is memorized in toto is yung lawyer's oath because that is a question in the bar. But otherwise, wala. Memorizing is not really required, pero it's more on It's more on yung sa understanding mo ng batas. kung naintindihan mo, there's no problem with, and kaya mo siyang i-relay, there's really no problem. Memorization is good kapag kaya mo, pero kung hindi naman siya indispensable. No? May advanced computations po ba sa law school? Wala naman masyado, pero kung talagang, as in talagang may mga ano rin talaga eh. May advanced computations daw ba? Talagang may mga, kahit na simpleng math equation lang, may mga simpleng math problems lang, hindi, hindi nila makuha. Kaya yung mga percentages, yung mga fractions, minsan hindi nila magets. Kaya, at least have an understanding of fractions, percentages before you go to law school, please. Parang awa niyan na. Is it okay to be honest na hindi mo nabasa yung case? Yes. Okay lang yun. Pero wag naman every meeting. Siyempre, magbasa ka naman, te. Lagi namin nasasabi yun kapag may mga cases. I'm sorry sir, I've not read the case, mga ganun. Tatayo ka lang naman. Okay lang, be honest. Pero wag laging I haven't read the case kasi puro kasing ko ron, hindi ka papasa. May Latin honors po ba sa law school? Wala yata. Meron ba? Wala. I think. Sa amin naman, hindi ko naman concern yun kasi hindi naman ako excellent student. Walang pakialam. Tips for overcoming terror, profs. Wala lang, move on ka lang. Ganun. Huwag mo masyadong dibdibin yung sinasabi. Basta ano ka lang, chill ka lang. Best undergrad for you for law school, philosophy. I think philosophy is the best undergrad. Cursive po ba talaga sa writing sa law school? Hindi. Pwedeng printed. Pero wag yung malalaki lahat. Yun yung pangit. Hindi pwedeng malalaki lahat na yung parang all caps, parang sumisigaw noon. Do you recommend na mag-join ng organizations or focus sa ACADS? Ikaw, nasa sa'yo yan, whatever works for you, no? If you are a social person, then by all means, may benefits naman. Actually, itong mga question nyo, similar yan doon sa mga tinanong sa akin sa isang event ng UP with the Dean Chell. Tingnan nyo lang sa page, nandun yun. May mga tips doon, maraming tips doon that I gave, which I think will help you. Sa 2023, bar magiging September daw po instead of traditional November. Malaki ba ang chance na maging ganito na siguro? Siguro, pabago-bago naman yung Supreme Court eh. Lalo na ngayon, in this time. Assuming po na the same pa rin po, eligible for taking the bar na po ba right after graduate? Oo naman. Basta nakagraduate ka na, eligible ka na to take the bar. Do you suggest joining Frats and Soros? For the connections and benefits, pwede. Pero hindi lagi. Kung demanding sa yung ng oras yung fraternity or org na sasalihan mo, baka naman you'll have to rethink that. No? Kailangan mo i-rethink yan. I know this is weird, but any tips on mag-workout ang relationship while taking law? This is a fun topic. We're both planning to take the law. Yun lang. Dapat isa sa inyo hindi law student. And mostly hindi daw nag-work relationship and both nag-take ng law. I don't know. Pero hindi naman ako kasi hindi siya law student at that time. So never, hindi pala siya law student. So it worked. Pero hindi naman siguro, pero you know what? I knew someone na parang 8 years na yata sila tapos nang-break sila because of what happened in law school. It's sa'yo yan. Take the risk. Sino po sumali as volunteer? How po sumali as volunteers ng bar ops? Usually sa yan, hindi yun volunteer, sa pilitan yun sa school kung saan ka papasok. Advantage po ba na member ka ng Greek orgs in law school? May mga benefits siya. Pero hindi naman siya advantageous na sobra. I don't think so. Ano po passing grade sa law school? Basta tres, pwede ka na do. Same lang po ba sa college? Yes. How can you excel in law school exams? Are ambiguities really omnipresent in law school exams? Talaga namang ang point naman ng exam is for them to test kung kung kaya mong sagutin kahit na yung most difficult of the questions, no? Minsan nakakalito rin talaga yung questions. Kasi kung hindi siya nakakalito, what's the point of doing that? Diba? Ano yun, recall? Law school is about analysis. Yung exams is about analysis really, not just remembering things. Ano pang opinion nyo sa digitized bar exam? I've tried it because I was proctor nung last exam and I think it's good. I really think it's good. Sana nga dumating yung time na wala ng proctors eh. It's an okay system for me. Maganda siya. Kaya lang, yun nga, yung kung walang access sa laptops yung tao, that might be a problem. Pero generally maganda yung digitized na bar exam. Hindi na kasi factor yung sulat ng isang tao. Advantages of being a class beadle, ano, hindi ko alam, hindi ko gets yan. I don't know what that means. Teka, search natin. Okay. Yung parang teaching assistant, parang ganun. May advantages. Oo, kasi kilala ka ng prof. Kung kilala ka niya, after you become a lawyer, may connection mo na yun. Ito siguro ang pinaka-mistake ko nung law school. Hindi ako nag-establish ng connection with profs. I didn't really like them. Kaya wala. I parang I started from scratch when I became a lawyer, no? Which is a bad thing, really. Kailangan mo makipag-connect basically sa mga lawyers, sa mga ano. So, frats and orgs and soros can help with that. Ano pa? May question pa tayo? Medyo ano na, it's late. So, I think that is all unless you have questions pa. Okay, last na to ha. Important or required po ba ang recommendation letter pag papasok sa law school? Depende sa school eh. Sa amin wala. Pero may mga schools na humihingi ng recommendation. Okay? Pero just the same again, establish connections.